Hello, my friend. Welcome to Converting PMBOK to Agile. This is the third in a series of 10. We've already taken a look at integration management and scope management. Well, today's time for us to move into schedule management in this journey. Let's jump straight into it. Now, here on the screen, you can see a grid. I have broken out the grid just like page 25 in the 6th edition. A few things to note. In initiating, there is nothing that relates to schedule, so we can black that out. In executing, there's nothing that pertains to schedule, and we can black that out as well. And there's nothing in closing, so we can black that out. So that just leaves us with planning and monitoring and controlling. Now let's get into this mind zone of Agile as it pertains to scheduling. The way we address scheduling is very different in the world of Agile than the world of predictive. In the world of predictive, we have these processes: plan, schedule management. This is planning how to manage the schedule. Now, in the world of Agile, we have, in many instances, not all, but in many instances, we have a team whose way of working has been built up over the years, over the months, and therefore they already come into this Agile situation, be it a product or a project, knowing how to manage the schedule. So the effort involved in planning schedule management with a schedule management plan is removed because we have a way of working, we have an understanding, we have at most a team charter that explains how we will proceed with this aspect. Then we have defined activities. Defining activities happens all throughout an Agile project. It is not a one-time thing, but it's something that happens over time. We could refer to that as some sort of planning, like we call this the concept of the Agile onion. We have the strategic level, we have the epic level, we have the release level, we have the iteration level, and so on. We could slice and dice it a variety of ways, but the bottom line is activities at the lowest level, they will get defined, but they are done by the individuals carrying out the work, sometimes as part of iteration planning or sprint planning, if you will, and other times it's as the sprint proceeds, the granular levels of details are broken down by the individuals doing the work. The next one, we have sequence activities. When it comes to sequence activities, it is important that you remember what we have said in previous sessions, known as the definition of ready. And the definition of ready goes along with an acronym that was also talked about, known as the INVEST acronym. And INVEST means a story coming into the sprint should be independent. As much as you can get that story to be independent, not joined to a bunch of others, but independent of all others. So when we talk about dependencies in the world of Agile, we approach them first off by trying to decouple as much as possible stories from each other. We're not saying that dependencies don't happen. They indeed do, but we decouple as much as possible to make those stories standalone, independent, negotiable, which means it's not a requirement statement that this must be done. Instead, it's negotiated based on the fact that this is a user-centered request. The stories are valuable, or the requests, if you will, are valuable. They're estimable, which means we should be able to estimate them. They are small enough to fit within a sprint, and they're testable. So when you think about sequence activities, think about it in a different way. We seek first to make our stories as independent as possible, and where dependencies exist, we logically plan how the work will be done at a high level, the granular levels of detail, the team works it out. And that's the whole purpose of the daily Scrum. The daily Scrum is a sync meeting so that where dependencies do exist, we're able to manage them in a proactive way. And then we have backlog refinement, which is where we are more mindful of this INVEST acronym as we break down stories. Okay, so going to the next one, estimating activity durations, as opposed to estimating how long a, let's say, story would take. We don't do that. Instead, we use the overarching concept of story points. And when we use story points, we could do that in a variety of ways, either through wideband Delphi, or planning poker, if you will, and we could also use story mapping. So I'll show you some imagery to get you to remember those. But remember, we don't go with duration, and there's a reason why we're not all gung-ho on durations. It's the concept of the inverted triangle of constraints. In the world of Agile, remember, we have a time box already. So the heavy lifting of time boxing is already done through the cadence of having many weeks, 2 weeks, 1 week, days, whatever. So we do not have to crack our brains, as it were, like we do in the world of traditional. In the world of Agile, we just don't do that. So the question is it small enough? Remember the INVEST acronym we have up here? Is it small enough to fit within a sprint? And if the answer is yes, then it takes away the puzzled game of how many weeks, how many months, how many days, how many hours. No, the question is, will it fit within a sprint? Yes. All right. Then we'll do it within a sprint. Move on. No need of estimating down to hours. If you are the person doing the work, though, of course, it would be prudent to do that. But that is not how we roll in the world of Agile right off the bat. There are a lot of teams that do not even waste a second trying to give duration estimates. The question is, can I do this within the sprint? Based on experience, based on understanding, based on know-how, proceed. And I'm not saying that every Agile team gets everything done. It comes with a lot of practice and experience, but our mindset in the world of Agile is, will it fit within the sprint? Okay, let's do it. And you, as the team member, remember, you're pulling the work to yourself. So as you pull work to yourself, your question should be, okay, can I get this done within a sprint? Yes. Okay. What else can I get done within a sprint? Do you see? So the question isn't, how many weeks is it going to take? Is it going to take? No, we know that we've already got a cadence. So the question of how many weeks do I have is already off the table. It then becomes, is it small enough to fit within a sprint? No, this is huge. All right. If this is so huge, how can we break it down so that we can fit pieces of it within a sprint that are independent, negotiable, valuable, estimable, and testable? So there's a lot more to be said about this, but I hope it begins to give you some thoughts about this concept. And then develop schedule. Again, we already have that cadence. We already know, based on historical information and empiricism, what our velocity has been. So it takes away the guesswork. And now we're really using data we generated based on our unique experience, empirical data. You put that into the mix, and you have an estimate of what you could get done within the sprint that is realistic and based on your experience as a team. More on that later. Now let's jump into control schedule. Well, you do know that in the world of Agile, when we use the word control, we don't use it the same way we do in the world of traditional, in that a lot of the reporting and statusing and so on is not done the same way. First of all, there's the inspect and adapt mechanism and ideology that permeates all throughout Agile. Secondly, there's a daily Scrum. It's not a bi-daily, it's not a every other day, it's a daily Scrum. So that gives you a lot of opportunity to steer, to inspect and adapt. We have sprint reviews, which help us as a team be disciplined as far as cadence is concerned. So you're talking about being on track and control schedule. Well, respecting the time box, right? The cadence. That's how we roll in the world of Agile. So it takes away the project manager being the policeman chasing people down the road to get their deliverables. It goes from that to, hey, here's a mature team. They know what to do. They know the importance of the time box. It's in the team charter. Just do it. And at the end of the cadence, there's a sprint review and there's a sprint retrospective. So we are on this TikTok rhythm without being chased by a project manager, if you get what I mean. It's not even, you were not even being chased by the Scrum Master or the product owner. It's just proper Agile etiquette, to obey what's in the team charter, to respect the cadence, the time box. All right. And then as far as backlog refinement is concerned, we constantly refine our backlog. So this is not the backlog for the current sprint, but it's the backlog for future sprints. But as a result of our refining it, we are in some way controlling what happens on the timeline. We are controlling what we will end up doing in the future. Okay, so the current controls is more like the daily Scrum, inspect, adapt. The future controls for other sprints in the future, we actually proactively do that in backlog refinement. Okay, so backlog refinement is more than preparing stories that we're going to work on. It's being proactive as far as the future is concerned. So I talked about a lot of concepts today, and I'm hoping that they are all making sense for you. But let's take a look at a few more Agile reminders that I mentioned. So first of all, we have Scrum. All of these activities that we do, all the things we do, all these events that we do in Scrum, when you really think about it, they all help us in our end game of schedule management. So without a well-primed backlog, right? Without you focusing on getting a well-primed, well-prioritized backlog, you can't really say you're doing good schedule management in Agile, right? The concept of getting the sprint backlog for each sprint after sprint planning, again, it helps you with the general flow of things, which is schedule management, deciding the cadence, the time box, something that helps you, the daily Scrum, it helps you. Not only are you controlling the schedule in some way, but you're also planning. Remember, it's a sync meeting. So what I'm going to do tomorrow, if your story has some impact on mine, then I need to be aware of that. And how do I know? Daily Scrum. I'm not waiting for a status meeting in this world, remember? Sprint review does the job of keeping us on track, helps us respect that cadence, and it just helps us with the general, are we on the right track? Same thing for the retrospective. It's a way for us to go back and say, are we doing things the right way? Is this way of working sensible? Or can we do something different? Again, going back to control schedule, your PSI, that again is an artifact that helps you in the grand scheme because it keeps you on track as far as each sprint, as far as, to use the agnostic Agile word, iteration and release. Okay. In the very beginning, I talked about how this triangle is turned on its head, and this takes away the question of how long is it going to take? It takes it away because now we have a fixed schedule component in the world of Agile, which we also call adaptive. We have a fixed budget as well. We have flexible scope, but as far as the schedule, it's fixed. And that takes away the question of how long is this going to take in days and it's going to take in hours. Again, it's up to the people doing the work to be that concerned, but at a regular, sensible level, the story level, as long as we know it fits in the sprint, we're good. All right, the product roadmap, I've talked about this previously. This is just a visual showing you the flow of things. So we can see when the different releases will hit, the different quarters or months they span across. We can see the feature sets that's in there. And going down to the lower level, it was really going to show this to you. Let's go to the whiteboard. So I was really going to show this to you. At this level, we have the actual product. At lower level, we have the epic, right? And then the lower level, we have the features. And the next level, we have the stories. Okay. Now, if I was going to show you the next level after this, and I'll just do this again, there's a mnemonic. It's Phil eats fries seldomly on Tuesdays, and it's product, epic, feature, story, task. And it's just like that. Phil eats fries seldomly on Tuesdays. Or you could say Paul eats fries sometimes on Tuesdays, because I ain't eating them. Yeah, I ain't eating them. All right, so that's your mnemonic: product, epic, feature, story, task. This will help you remember the levels of things. But this level down here, the task level, this is where the individuals who are performing the tasks, this is where they can be concerned. Yes, they take the story. So let's say Bob says, this is my story, I'm going to work this. It's up to Bob to take that story, right? It's up to Bob to take the story and break it down into all of these tasks. It's up to Bob. But this is not something we at the team level are going to be concerned about. The itty bitty 1 hours, 2 hours, right? 1 hour for task 3. We're not going to get involved in all that. So Agile works very differently. You know, we know the team is made up of adults, and we let them get on with it however they want to. We also have the concept of the Kanban board. So this is another useful device, or you could even say some sort of artifact at the end of the day in the world of Agile that we use to understand when things are being done and the state of stuff. Don't forget, we also have Burndown Charts that show us the velocity over time. So the kind of artifacts that we use in the world of Agile, it's different. The Burndown Charts, it's a real-time representation of progress, and as opposed to using Gantt charts and things like that, and you know, there's nothing wrong in Gantt charts. Remember, PMISP certified, MCTS certified. I love schedules. But in the world of Agile, there's a place for Burndown charts that these Gantt charts can't touch, you know? So Burndown charts, and we also have Burnup Charts. And we can use Burnup Charts across the board, whether we're dealing at the entire sprint level, the release level, the feature level, the epic level. We could have Burndown Charts that cater to that. I mentioned Planning Poker, so we could have estimates for the story points done using Planning Poker. I've talked about this in the previous video. I'm not going to waste your time today talking about Planning Poker all over again. Also, look out for my video on the Fibonacci sequence, because I really draw this out in another video, why the numbers in Planning Poker. In Affinity estimating, really great way of you getting fast estimates and effective estimates by using the power of the team. We call it silent relative sizing as well. I've spoken about this in a previous video. I will say look for that video. And then as far as forecasting and the concept of velocity, yes, we use velocity to predict the future. So as far as how many story points we can get done within a sprint, or even if you wanted to use weeks, we can build that in and we can predict, okay, based on our velocity, as far as how many story points we can get done in 4 weeks, it's somewhere in the region of anywhere from 175 to close to 240. If someone says, how long will it take you to get 250 story points worth of work done? Well, anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks, as you can see on the screen. If anyone says, how many story points can you deliver within 3 sprints or 3 weeks, whatever it is, you've got that band of anywhere from 125 to 175. So it becomes easier when you're using empirical measurements, when you're using intentionality to predict the future. So it's not just what someone thinks can be done. It is what you are predicting based on the past performance of the team. Okay. And there's so many ways you can use this awareness. And we call this the cone of uncertainty at the mouth here. The tighter the cone of uncertainty, the more predictable your project is. And in Agile, we like our projects to be predictable based on the empiricism. We don't want a wide cone of uncertainty. The wider the cone of uncertainty, like this is like what you would say is the worst performance. The green is the best performance, the yellow in the middle, and tells you the average. But the tighter the cone is, the better. We don't want a cone of uncertainty that is all the way like that, because that would be a huge band of possibility. We don't want that. We want a tight cone of uncertainty, but these are things we could use in the world of Agile to have some sort of schedule control, if you will. Okay. Now, again, you got to understand in the world of Agile, adaptive methods use short cycles to undertake the work. And when you're using short cycles, the variability, of course, is going to be reduced because we're reviewing the results, we're adapting as necessary, we're bouncing back, we're putting that back straight into production, if you will, right? So these cycles, they give us rapid feedback on the approaches and the suitability of deliverables, and they manifest in iterative scheduling and on-demand pull-based scheduling. Like when we talk about Kanban, that's a pull-based system. You're drawing work to yourself as there's the bandwidth and capacity to. Okay, so just keep that in mind. All right, and for those who haven't started taking quizzes and mocks, go to people.hpmexam.com, process.hpmexam.com, business.hpmexam.com for you to get questions on the 3 domains if you're looking for that, and a final mock exam for day 40, going down to mock.hpmexam.com. These are pretty challenging quizzes, but they will find your gaps. Okay, so going back to where we were in the very beginning, like I said, in this world of schedule management, schedule management in Agile, it works differently. In large organizations, there could be a mixture of small projects and large initiatives requiring long-term roadmaps to manage the development of these programs using scaling factors. So team size, geographical distribution, regulatory and compliance, not to mention technical complexity. All of these are factors that govern how we apply concepts in Agile to manage a schedule. If you take a look at pages 90 to 95, I believe this may be on page 91, but you can look for it in the Agile Practice Guide in that page 90 to 95 sequence under schedule management. The PMI makes it clear that to address the full delivery lifecycle or larger enterprise-wide systems, a range of techniques using a predictive approach, adaptive approach, or a hybrid, both of these combined, agile and predictive, may need to be adopted. So going into the exam, you can't just think, oh, it's all predictive, or think, oh, it's all or nothing agile. No, I expect the PMI could very well give you hybridized schedule questions, and there's got to be a line of best fit for how you think. All this stuff I've shared with you today should help you to roll with that, however it's presented, right? An organization may need to combine practices from several core methods or adopt a method that has already done so and adopt a few principles and practices of more traditional techniques. The role of the project manager does not change based on managing projects using a predictive development lifecycle or managing projects in adaptive environments. However, to be successful in using adaptive approaches, the project manager will need to be familiar with the tools and techniques to understand how to apply them effectively. One of the key things the project manager needs to know to apply this effectively is always rely on the power of the team. Don't become the headmaster, if you will, beating team members into submission of a schedule. No, that's not how it works in the world of Agile, I can assure you, my friends. Definitely not. All right, if you got any questions about anything I've shared with you today, definitely let me know. I hope this has been informative for you, and wish you all the very best on your exam. You take care and see you in the next episode. It's going to be on cost. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, share with your friends. Bye for now.